All right. Sorry about this all, guys. I'm prepping something for later that I will announce after we go through these things. But while I'm getting something set up, it is Don G. Corleone here, and we are here with a new live stream for this day's video. And, well, a certain reaction that will be happening near the end that I will live stream as well. And you'll see the real reaction tomorrow of it. So before I get started on that one, I'm going to go here and I'm going to announce what this is. So I know we technically did a reaction to the nominees of this, but I figured since I did watch the Oscars Sunday, as you all saw on my social medias, I would be announcing how the ceremony went and my reaction to the wins and what I like won and what I'm not happy won. So yeah. So Sunday I watched a screening of the Oscars, and this was a screening at a place called the Rio Theater. And, you know, as much as I don't really care for the Oscars, this was actually kind of a fun event. I will say that. This was actually kind of a fun event. It was fun going to the Rio Theater, dressing up in fancy attire, kind of like that. And what happened there was during commercial breaks, there were a few little trivias and a few little acceptance speeches and, well, a few like little prize games during the commercial breaks. And if they were a little if those parts were too short, then they would play some great movie score theme music during commercial breaks and turn the volume back on once the show got back on after the commercial breaks. How it started off was basically it started off with our host Conan O'Brien dressing up like Amy's character from Weapons, and then of course he demanding to be changed back to normal. Then the person in the tournament that refuses and breaks that little twig like you saw in the movie, and getting chased by the children through all sorts of various clips. And what we pretty much see, they go through clips, films like Sinners, go through clips of one ballad or another, go through clips of Frankenstein, even go through a clip of K-pop Demon Hunters. And you know something? How they did this part was actually pretty unique. As much as I kind of hate that chase sequence of weapons, I like how they did it in this whole ceremony. This was actually clever, having Conan be chased by the weapons kids through all the various clips. And K-pop Demon Hunters was the most effort. Actually really taking the time to animate Conan and the kids in the K-pop Demon Hunter style. Now that's creative. That's a creative way to start off the Oscars. I will admit that. And all the way to the ceremony. Yeah, pretty much that's how it all opens up. So basically, how they announced it was like how it started was Conan then went to the stage, and now this all went down. And of course, then, well, one of the problems I have is it got announced by Matt Berry, and well, we pretty much then had, because you all know Timothy Chalamet, pretty much, oh yeah, pretty much, criticized ballet and opera. Well, just wasn't a really big fan of it. Now, yeah, I know. I'm going to say this part. About that whole Timothy thing, people are probably going to be asking me about. I honestly am not the biggest fan of it. I never was really. Like, come on. Some people are getting mad that Timothy doesn't like ballet or opera, so what? I mean, granted, yeah, I could have worded it better. Maybe could have worded it a little better. Maybe shouldn't have called it useless, maybe, but turning this into a meme and a joke, like all over the internet, is honestly going a bit extreme about it. I mean, come on. Just for that fun. Guys, like, being mad about it one time would be fine, but come on. Trying to announce it to death a lot of times is really annoying. Like, seriously, like, I feel some of these people are just being kind of childish about this whole thing. Like, come on. All I just said was that ballet was just the opera was useless. Not like he went out and did controversial stuff, like pulled another Oscar slap or something like that. All he just said was that. Not like did anything else. And now it's though it kind of seems like he doesn't mind the roasts at the ceremony and stuff. And besides, even though he did not win Best Actor, he actually seemed pretty happy for Michael B. Jordan. You know, he actually got them clapped. You know, so he at least handled it like a champ. At least he handled it professionally well. So yeah, our presenters, as you all know, the people who presented were Saldana, who presented Best Supporting Actress, because remember last year she won for Emilia Perez, which should not have been that. Then you had Will Arnett and Channing Tatum presenting for Best Animated Feature and Best Animated Short. And I gotta tell you, it's definitely what's pretty iconic about that is these two were in a few animated projects together. They were in the Lego series. Will Arnett was Batman in the Lego movie, and Channing Tatum voiced Superman in the Lego movie. So you got both the Lego versions of Batman and Superman presenting animated feature and animated short. Then I don't think they screened this part, but Hathaway and Wintour presented Best Costume Design, Makeup, and Hairstyling. And then, of course, quite a few people presented Best Casting. Yeah, Chase Infinity, Wagner Moore, Delroy Lindo, Paul Mescal, and Gwyneth Paltrow presented Best Casting. And they also did a tribute to a lot of actors we lost last year. And one of them even being Catherine O'Hara, we had lost around the beginning of the year, tragically. All the people that they honored at the ceremony, all rest in peace. And even the director of Misery as well. Kumail Nanjiani presented Best Live Action Short. Macaulay Culkin's brother, Kieran Culkin, who had won Best Supporting Actor last year, presented Best Supporting Actor. And of course, now this one, while it's nice to see Captain America and Iron Man presenting Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Original Screenplay, at the same time, I was mixed on that one because I definitely still like Robert Downey Jr. in person and actor-wise. Chris Evans, I like actor-wise, not really person-wise. No. I'm not a fan of Chris Evans person-wise. I still like his performance as Captain America and stuff. I still like him acting-wise in a few films, but I'm not big on him as a person after all the Lightyear stuff. And Billy Crystal presented the Robin Michael Rayner tribute, and that's the other thing. Mike Wazowski presented that, aka Billy Crystal himself, especially because Billy Crystal actually was in one of his films, when Rob Reiner's films when Harry Met Sally. Right there, so and I really like it, and you can definitely see how much he really owed to Rob Reiner and stuff. And Rachel McAdams had presented the Diane Keaton and Catherine O'Hara tributes, and I don't think they screened that part. And the Robert Redford tributes, yeah, Robert Redford was also tributed at the Oscars, aka the very guy that played in Captain Winter Soldier. Then, of course, ones who presented Best Production Design, Best Visual Effects were Sigourney Weaver and Pedro Pascal, who's in every fucking movie nowadays, presented this one. And this was one I was also mixed on because now Pedro Pascal, I like acting-wise in The Mandalorian, but not person-wise either. Sigourney Weaver, I am mixed on as well because now don't get me wrong, actress-wise, I like her too. You know, Ellen Ripley in Alien and Aliens stuff. I like her in those movies, but one of the more bad qualities of her is she was also one of the reasons for Alien 3 turning out the way it did, because you know how Ripley was such a badass in Aliens, and then they go back and they regress, they go backwards to square one in Alien 3, present her now to even more of a wimp than she was at the start Alien, and regress all her character development down the toilet. Because Sigourney Weaver pretty much demanded no guns, messed with some of the production, and demanded she die, but then that was pointless because she had somehow apparently agreed to come back for Alien Resurrection anyway. But I guess it was nice at least seeing. But no, the best part about this, it was definitely nice to see Gorgu in the audience trying to learn how to clap. Then, of course, Best Documentary was presented by Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, of course, anybody cares to see his ass. Best Original Score, Best Sound got presented by they have 5 actresses from Bridesmaids: Melissa McCarthy, Rose Byrne, who also was nominated, Kirsten Wiig, Maya Rudolph, and Ellie Kemper were presenting those ones. And that part, they were reading a few notes about their thoughts and before they presented, and well, here's the thing. Now, I'm going to say my thoughts on Bridesmaids. Bridesmaids, that's technically Paul Feig's first film. Now, there's some stuff from Paul Feig I like. I like The Heat. I like Roommates. No, it's not called Roommate. I like Housemaid. That's what it's called. The Heat, Housemaid, Spy. I love those movies. Not a fan. Y'all know I'm not a fan of the Ghostbusters movie he did. The Simple Favor stuff I don't care about. Bridesmaids, not a fan of Bridesmaids either. There's a lot of reasons why I'm not a fan of Bridesmaids. Because personally, it's just one of those Judd Apatow wannabes. And also, I think the film suffers the Wedding Crashers problem, where it's kind of overly mean spirited. And a lot of times in that movie, they try to pin Kirsten Wiig's character as the wrong one, despite the fact that most of the film she gets shit on for no reason. Her roommates are assholes. At one point, he did kick her out, and then of course, like when Rose Byrne's character enters the picture, she turns out to be a complete unlikable bitch. Because for one, she basically keeps almost ruining her Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph's friendship throughout the film. And of course, pretty much, despite the fact that Wiig's character is uncomfortable flying, pretty much demands they go to Las Vegas anyway, despite the fact that Wiig's plan was for Maya Rudolph's character to go to this childhood home of theirs. But no, Rose Byrne's character thinks she needs to have all the credit and stuff. And then, of course, the worst part of the film is when Kristen Wiig's character comes up with the idea for the bridal shower. Rose Byrne's character basically steals her idea. And Maya Rudolph's character is proud of this, and then Kristen Wiig's character is a meltdown, and then Maya Rudolph basically kicks her out. And they try to pin off Kristen Wiig as the selfish one in the movie, but no. Honestly, Maya Rudolph's character comes off worse. Honestly, her character comes off no better. Comes off as a shitty friend. And then of course they try to make Rose Byrne's reasons all sympathetic and stuff, like at the very end part. But honestly, no, you kept causing problems with Kristen Wiig's character and you ruined her friendship. Why should you be sympathetic? Like, yeah, I'm not a fan of Bridesmaids. I think it's one of the most overrated comedies. It's mean spirited. I don't really care for that film. I think The Heat and Spy are better films, and The Housemaid are much better films from Paul Feig. I like those way better. And honestly, I think The Heat should have got all the praise Bridesmaids did. But moving on. Lynn Howell Taylor presented Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. The two Pullmans, Bill Pullman and Luz Pullman, presented Best Film Editing. Demi Moore presented Best Cinematography, and Demi Moore looked fantastic when she was presenting Best Cinematography. Navir Baram and Priyanka Chopra Jones presented Best International Feature Film. Lionel Richie presented Best Original Song. Then, of course, well, because these two are appearing in a movie this year, and now, no, not one movie, 2 movies they're appearing in. They're going to appear in 2 movies. Robert Pattinson Zendaya presented Best Director, and Adrian Brody presented Best Actor. Mikey Madison presented Best Actress. And for the finale, the one that was presented Best Picture, the ones who presented Best Picture were, because these two were in a movie from Baz Luhrmann called Moulin Rouge, Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor. And you know something? It was definitely kind of actually nice to see Obi-Wan Kenobi himself being the one to present Best Picture. You know? Nice to see. Actually, really nice that Obi-Wan Kenobi was the one who presented the one that ended it all. So it's definitely nice to see, like, as much as I don't care for Moulin Rouge, it's nice to see these two reunite. Now, for the ones who won, some of these I'm happy for. Some of these I'm not. So, the ones who won, let's get on with the bad first. So, the ones that did win the most. The one that won the most was apparently one battle after another. yeah, the film I still need to watch at some point, but everything I've heard about it does not look like I'd enjoy it. And I feel the only reason like Paul Thomas Anderson won is because the films that actually look better from him apparently lost, and I feel like they just wanted to make up for that for best director on that one. But that's the thing. Paul Thomas Anderson has directed some actually good films, but this one does not look like it's one of those. But that one won Best Picture. My bets were originally going to be going to either Marty Supreme or Hamnet. Well, my bets were going to go to Hamnet because I have not watched Hamnet either, but Hamnet seems like one of those that always seems like those kind of films that usually always win every year. It seems like that kind of movie. But yeah, best actor in a lead role, best actress in a lead role. Speaking of Hamnet, best actress went to Jessie Buckley for Hamnet. And the one that won best actor was the one that shocked me the most because this was the one I did not see coming. The one who won Best Actor was Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and I did not, and that's the one I was surprised because, and also very happy won Best Actor because there's the thing. While Marty Supreme technically is my favorite movie of the year, I feel Michael B. Jordan kind of did give the best, is kind of the one that deserved the award the most because I think he did the best performance. Like he played two characters in the same film, two twin brothers, and did fantastic capturing both of them. And the two brothers had good chemistry with one another. So, best actor in supporting role was won by Sean Penn. Yeah, the character that apparently won an Oscar for getting a boner. Who won best actress in supporting role was also from another horror movie, Amy Madigan for Weapons. Yeah, the one who won for Weapons was Amy Madigan, and Best Actress in Supporting Role. So, two people in a horror film won an Oscar. Two people from a horror movie won. And now, her performance wasn't bad. But at the same time, this is the same character that had that goofy ass fucking defeat at the end of the movie, who apparently loses powers from a fucking stick breaking. And then gets chased out by kids like Mr. Krabs in the Pretty Patty episode, like 20 or 15 minutes. This was a creative sequence when the Oscars parodied it, but in the movie, this was a stupid fucking defeat. Like that Weapons is a movie that had potential. They actually had a good concept for a horror movie. And Josh Brolin's characters and the teacher were actually the best characters of the film, and it could have worked better if it was about them only. If it was just about them, it was just focused on those two, the movie would have worked better. But now instead it wants to be almost anthology, and it becomes boring quick when it goes on these gazillion other characters that nobody cares about. And then it leads up to this, and then it turns out our villain who kidnapped them's a witch. And then it just randomly becomes a what the fuck movie. Like, it started off so great, and in the middle it goes downhill. And especially in the final act when that defeat happens. But two actors in a horror film won an acting Oscar. So the ones who won Best Writing for Adapted Screenplay, one battle after another. For Best Original Screenplay, Sinners. Yeah, like Sinners won 2 Best Original awards this year. Man, and honestly, I definitely can see why it did. I like that Sinners was the one that won Best Original Screenplay. So, for one who won Best Animated Feature, and now, no, while this may not be my number one favorite animated movie of the year, this is the one I immediately predicted. Was K-Pop Demon Hunters, won Best Animated Feature Film. And, well, let's face it, was that really a shock, people? Are people really shocked that won? Not really. I mean, I think we all knew that was going to win. Everybody knew that was going to win because that's the animated film that got the most high acclaim that year. And you know what? Honestly, regardless what I think about the film, maybe it's not my favorite animated movie this year. I'm happy it won. I'm actually kind of happy that film won. I mean, there's some animated films I like better, but I'm happy K-Pop Demon Hunters won. because I think it's the one that honestly deserved, because it's the one that did have the most effort put into it, and it actually did feel pretty unique. So there's pretty good reasons it still won Best Animated Feature and why it's so high acclaimed. And more about the songs later when we get to the song part. The one who won Best Animated International Feature Film was Sentimental Value. And no, I've not seen these movies, guys. Best Documentary Feature Film got won by Mr. Nobody Against Putin and All the Empty Rooms for Best Documentary Short Film. Best Live Action Short Film went to The Stingers. Best Animated Short Film was The Girl Who Cried Pearls. And you know, The Girl Who Cried Pearls from the clip I saw at the ceremony looked actually very unique. You know, that actually looked like a short that would easily be a perfect Oscar winner. From the clip I saw, Best Original Score was won by Sinners. And it's definitely a well deserved one because the score was very terrific. It didn't feel like it was rehashed from other films. It definitely felt like a different kind of score. Best Music went to Gold. Best Song went to Golden from K-Pop Demon Hunters. Now, more about this one. I'm going to explain how this one went. So, when the people who wrote that song were EJ, Mark Sonbrick. Oh yeah, thanks for that, dude. Mark Sonbrick, Jun Gayu, Kwak, Yu Han Lee, Hee Don Nam, Jun Hon Seo, and Teddy Park wrote that song. And you know, they went up to go accept the reward, and they were amazed. And when they were trying to literally thank everybody in their speech, and when they got on a note because obviously they couldn't remember the names all, they were trying to credit everybody. And you know what happened? The Academy basically played the music over it and cut them off. They fucking cut them off and didn't even let them fucking finish. How fucking rude. Look, I don't care if you have time limits. Let them finish their fucking speech. They were trying to credit everybody, and you just play music over them. Thinking that, like, wow. Honestly, I'd rather listen to their speech than watch too many unfunny Timothy Chalamet jokes and stuff, or too many comedic stuff, or goofy outros. I'd rather listen to their May speech. You know, they have the right to credit everybody. They were able to finish their speech backstage, but no, like imagine being one of the writers and you were about to be credited in that when you won the award and you didn't even get to have your name mentioned because the Academy basically blurred music over you. Like everybody was pissed off about this. I'm pissed off about this. Like let them finish. Wow. Yeah, I hear that as well, Joseph. More on that another time. The ones who won Best Sound and Best Casting were one battle after another for casting, and Best Sound actually went to F1. So, Happy F1 won an award. Happy F1 won an award. You know, that's another one of my favorite movies of the year. So, Best Production Design went to Frankenstein. Now, mention Frankenstein. So, this week, guys, I'm finally going to get around to watching that film. I'm finally going to get around to doing that film. Maybe do that, do Hamnet. I'm finally going to get around to watching Frankenstein. Now, hopefully, I'll get the chance to this week. At some point, I'll probably do it Friday nights, and then maybe just see Project Hail Mary Saturday nights. So I can, yeah, that way Frankenstein, because Frankenstein's a long, very long movie. I'll watch it then. So the 101 Best Cinematography is Sinners. Best Makeup and Hairstyle went to Frankenstein. Best Costume Design went to Frankenstein. So wow, 3 horror films actually dominated the Oscars this year. Like Frankenstein was Sinners was the one that was the horror film of the 3 that won the most awards. But Frankenstein won 3 of them. So yeah, 2 horror films won quite a few awards. So that's kind of a plus for the horror community, including members of the horror community like myself. Best, all right, I already did that one. So the next 2, the ones that won Best Film Editing, one battle after another. Best Visual Effects. Best Visual Effects went to, obviously, Avatar Fire and Ash. Yeah, obvious. Okay, that's obvious, guys. That's obvious. But, you know, At least, like, I kind of wanted F1 or Sinners to win that one. But hey, at least, but no, it could be worse. It could have went to Jurassic World, the Snickers bar instead. Can you imagine how pissed off that would have had been? That would have been stupid if it won, if that won. But it is what it is. And besides, Avatar: Fire and Ash was the one Avatar film I actually would say I actually liked or tolerated ish. I didn't love it, but I decently liked Fire and Ash, and that's coming from somebody who hates Avatar 1 and hates Avatar 2 and still does. And this weirdest thing is, apparently, all the diehard fans of Avatar hated the third one, despite the one that actually feels that's the only one of the three that feels like it actually tries to have the best character development, actually tries to have the quicker pacing. You know, to me, it does. And to me, it has better character writing. Actually, the only one that has any good character writing actually does, for once, doesn't make the protagonist an unlikable dick. Actually tries to make him actually likable, and actually for once decides to acknowledge an actually evil Navi clan act, likely because they see, well, I guess some people don't like these Navi characters, so let's make an evil one for this one. And you know what? They were actually what made the movie worth it. The evil clan were actually great. Varan actually did feel like an actual villain. She actually felt like a threat. I actually got chills whenever Varan was on screen. She actually was the best part of the movie. But yeah, so overall now, I guess attending the event was not, I guess attending the event, a screening of the event was not bad and actually kind of fun. You know, it was at least fun getting to dress up in a tuxedo. And like, it was actually not bad. So what I can see here now, while this was kind of mostly about those Oscars, I'm going to have to say, since I've heard today that apparently Jim Carrey's back as Ivo for Sonic 4, this has me a little mixed because remember when we last saw him, guys? He sacrificed himself in Sonic 3. So how are they going to do this? I mean, if they go with the alternate timeline version, then maybe I'll buy it. But what I hope they don't do is try to bring back the dead one. Don't bring back the dead one and undo his redemption in Sonic 3, please. Don't do that. I don't want that whole moment in Sonic 3 being retconned and entirely useless. Shadow coming back, yeah, I can deal with because Shadow has died before in the game and he came back. So Shadow we knew was not going to die. Shadow we knew would survive. Like, so yeah, Pervert Pascal's a better name for him. Yeah. Yeah, with another actress I'm mixed on. Despite I've liked her in films, one I've mixed on because she also is known to be one of the prompts for Alien 3 among other stuff. So anyway, the reason why I am mentioning a certain reaction now. Our reaction, guys, today. And the actual reaction video of this will happen tomorrow. But this will be the non-picture in picture reaction we're live streaming today. So, the trailer for Doom 3 has come out. And this was very exciting to see. So, I'm going to put my headphones in and we're going to watch the trailer for Doom Part 3, which is hitting theaters the same time as Avengers Doomsday. And honestly, I know what I'll be watching instead of Avengers Doomsday. It's obvious, guys. All right, hold on. All right. All right. There we go. All right. 3, 2, 1. Let's play. Turn this up a bit. There's Oh, huh. That's weird. They're oh, I think it's a flashback sequence. Okay, I think this is a flashback sequence before the end of part two. Maybe this was a scene that happened before the end of part two when they're together. Yeah, I think this is a flashback. Happen. Uh, uh, there's the Holy War. Oh man, this looks intense already. Yeah, this is gonna be really dark. There's Princess Ireland. Hey, yeah, and committing some evil crimes too, dude. Ooh, he's yeah. The score is much more intense to this trailer. The conclusion. Oh man, he looks intimidating. This Paul looks like he means business. Part three, or Messiah as the book's called, but part three for this movie. December 18th. All right. All right, I'll just put this away. No, turn this part off. In a second, I'll just come back in a little bit. All right. So this. Oh, I should take my headphones out first. All right. So that was me checking out the trailer for Dune Part 3. And I gotta say, you know, I am already pumped. Let us hope that this can be the one that finishes it all. Because as you all know, I'll go get those other ones. I know exactly where they are. All right, here's part one. I found part one. And oh, there's part two. Easy peasy. Y'all know I already loved these first two movies. For me, someone who never read the book, I actually really ended up really liking this movie when I went to go see this opening night. And when I came out of the theater for this, I was hoping, I hope we can get part two, and I hope this does well enough to justify a part two. And of course, despite some restrictions still happening, it actually did solid business, and it did actually manage to do really great business on HBO Max to justify part two being made. And when I heard this news, I was like, yes, we're gonna get the sequel. Oh man, because I wanted a sequel ever since I saw part one, and we did, and I was excited to hear we were getting it. It was supposed to come in 2023, but then the actor strike delayed it to March 2024. But then, of course, once that strike resolved in December, and of course, March 2024 finally came. It originally was going to be, I think, a middle of March, but it got moved up to the very start of March. Then came Dune Part 2, the actually superior one. And you all know my original thoughts, but then I saw it again the second time in the same opening weekend, and I liked it way better the second time. At first, I thought part one was better, but but when I saw this again, I immediately thought part two was better, and I was just missing something. So yeah, part two turned out to be not just better, but also probably one of the best sci-fi films in a while. Like blown away by part two. How way better part two was. Like there, I think these are both equally. I think these are both equally good, but I'd say this one is better. Like that was my favorite film of 2024. No other film ended up dethroning it. Like this has the potential to become the next Lord of the Rings of our decade. So I hope to hell this part three can be just as great as this was, or actually better, and turn out to be a 10 out of 10 film. Like this is supposed to be adapting Doom Messiah, but they're calling it Doom Part 3. Now, part of me kind of wishes they just called it Doom Messiah anyway, you know, because it's technically an adaptation of Messiah, but I guess Part 3 is fine enough. But I think Messiah would have been a better title. But either way, regardless, I'm pumped for this. Like when I saw the character posters, like the character posters gave me chills. Anya Taylor Joy's poster was pretty freaky to look. It's kind of freaky to look at. At first, I thought that was Princess Ireland's character, the character Princess Ireland on that one. I kind of mixed up Florence and Anya on his character posters. They like no, it turns out the one with the more paler face is actually Florence's character. So I kind of mixed them up, and it turns out the one screaming is Anya Taylor Joy's character. It's like so I kind of mixed them up there. Like I almost thought Anya Taylor Joyce looked similar to Princess Ireland. All right, I thought they did, but I could definitely tell. I could definitely tell what Paul's looked like. Obviously, like Paul's looks intimidating. Like as you saw at the end of this, he pretty much became the new emperor, and he started the Holy War, started genocide all over the world of the Dune. Right there, like pretty much now became an anti-hero by this point. Also still somewhat ish, but also somewhat the villain by that point, and it's pretty much going to wrap up that whole tragedy, the whole tragic tale of Paul. Pretty much resort to revenge after his father died, and Jason Momoa's character is also going to be coming back for part three. After we didn't see him in part two, he's coming back for this. So I wonder what he was probably up to around part two's events, but